Ever been on a flight that landed in, like, crazy fog? I'm talking can't see your hand in front of your face fog.
Yeah.
Kind of freaky, right? But those runway lights, they just cut right through. It's amazing. Makes you realize someone's got to make sure those things are working no matter what.
It's a whole other world out there on the tarmac.
Right. And that brings us to today's deep dive, Aviation Ground Systems Engineers.
The unsung heroes, you could say.
Totally. We've got RoleCatcher's career guide to illuminate things for us, and they get into some really cool details, so let's jump right in. First off, what exactly do these engineers do? It's got to be more than just fixing airplanes, right?
Oh, way more. Think of it like this. They're the ones making sure the entire airport ecosystem actually functions. Baggage handling, those moving walkways, even, the parking garage payment systems,
Wow, didn't think of that last one.
all part of the airport ecosystem. And Aviation Ground Systems Engineers, they're the masterminds behind it all.
Okay, that is a lot of ground to cover. Speaking of, the guide mentions pavement management.
Yeah.
What does that even entail?
Think about the structural integrity of runways, taxiways, aprons, basically, anywhere a plane is going to roll. These engineers make sure those surfaces can withstand the weight of those massive aircraft.
Oh, right.
They got to resist the wear and tear from constant use and, this is important, provide adequate drainage. Nobody wants a flooded runway.
Right, that's not good.
It's a lot more involved than people realize.
I'm starting to realize that. So they work with a huge range of systems, but what about the day-to-day? Like, what's it actually like to be an aviation ground systems engineer? Give us the inside scoop.
Okay, picture this. It's 3:00 a.m.
Ouch.
Dense fog has rolled in over the airport. And the approach lighting system, those crucial lights guiding pilots in?
Yeah.
They go on the fritz.
Uh-oh.
You get called in to figure out what's wrong.
No pressure.
And not just any fix will do.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to factor in the type of lights, in this case, high intensity, to cut through that fog, weather conditions, and the impact on air traffic if you have to take a section of the runway offline.
Yeah.
Thinking on your feet, pressure, safety first. That's the name of the game.
Definitely high stakes. So not a job for someone who panics easily.
Right.
What kind of person thrives in this world?
Someone who doesn't shy away from a challenge, someone who enjoys, a dynamic work environment. No 2 days are the same. They've got to be tech savvy, obviously, comfortable troubleshooting complex systems, staying calm under pressure, all that good stuff.
And we can't forget those soft skills. RoleCatcher's guide, they really highlight those, especially teamwork and communication. Why are those so crucial in this field?
Well, you're constantly interacting with all sorts of people, right? Airport management, air traffic control, maintenance techs, airline staff.
Right.
You have to be able to get technical info across clearly, make sure those repairs and maintenance schedules are coordinated so there are no surprises, and we'll just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Makes sense.
Keep the airport running smoothly and safely. That's the ultimate goal.
It's a team effort, for sure. Okay. This job, it sounds intense, but also kind of amazing. Speaking of, let's talk job outlook. Is this a career that's, taking off? Or are we looking at turbulence ahead?
Well, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and RoleCatcher cites this in their guide, the job outlook for aviation ground systems engineers is projected to grow by about 5% from 2019 to 2029.
Okay.
That's about average for all occupations, so it's pretty stable.
Yeah.
A good, solid choice.
Good to know. So the demand is there, but what about the skills? RoleCatcher's guide lists a bunch. What are we talking about here?
They divide them into two main areas: your technical skills and then your soft skills. Technical side, you need a solid engineering background, mechanical, electrical, and increasingly software.
Software.
Big time.
Interesting.
These systems are only getting more complex, right? So computer-aided design software, diagnostic tools, predictive maintenance algorithms, they're all becoming the norm.
So you need to be a bit of a tech whiz these days on top of everything else.
You got it.
What about those soft skills? Give us the rundown.
Remember that late night fog scenario we were talking about?
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing how to fix the lights. You've got to stay calm, cool, and collected under pressure. Communicate clearly with your team and make the right calls, especially when safety's on the line.
Right.
Those are your soft skills, and they can make or break you in this field.
So it's a balance, technical chops and those essential human skills.
100%.
Me.
And that's what makes this career so unique, I think. It's not just about the machines, it's about the people who keep them running and the passengers who rely on them every single day.
It's not just the people skills. RoleCatcher also mentions that these systems are becoming increasingly computerized.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like way more than people realize.
So you're saying these systems can actually read and rank my resume before a human even lays eyes on it?
Yep. ATS, applicant tracking systems, they scan for keywords, relevant experience, even formatting issues. If your resume isn't formatted perfectly, it might get tossed out.
Wow, I had no idea.
It's the name of the game these days.
So what can you even do?
Well, RoleCatcher's AI can help with that. Their analysis tool, it scans your resume just like an ATS would, so you can catch those red flags before you send it out.
That's a game changer. Okay, so it's like having an inside track on the application process.
Basically, yeah. It helps level the playing field.
Yeah.
Speaking of leveling up, RoleCatcher also gives you insights into salary expectations.
Oh, that's huge. No more lowball offers.
Exactly. Forewarned is forearmed, right?
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the skills you need, the job outlook, even how to get your resume noticed, but what about networking? I know, it's a buzzword, but it's important, right?
It really is, especially in aviation. It's a surprisingly tight-knit industry.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
So going to conferences, joining professional organizations, even just connecting with people on LinkedIn
Right.
can open a lot of doors that you wouldn't believe.
So it's all about making those connections.
Pretty much. And RoleCatcher actually has a feature to help with that, too.
They do.
Yeah, you can create and manage your professional network right on their platform. It'll even send you reminders to stay in touch with important contacts.
Wow. Okay, so they really do have everything. Career guidance, job hunting tools, interview prep, networking. It's like having a personal career coach in your pocket.
That's the goal, I think. But even with all the best tools and resources, it still comes down to you, the individual. You have to be willing to put in the work.
So true. Okay, so for someone listening who's thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even start? What's step one on the Aviation Ground Systems engineer journey?
RoleCatcher recommends starting with a self-assessment. Figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, all that.
Okay.
And ask yourself, are you really passionate about aviation? Can you handle a dynamic, fast-paced environment? It's got to be the right fit.
Right. Both for your skills and your personality.
Exactly. Once you've done that, then you can start looking into education.
Okay, so let's talk education. What kind of qualifications do you usually need to get your foot in the door?
A bachelor's degree in engineering is usually the bare minimum. Could be electrical, mechanical, even aerospace. It really depends what you want to do.
So a solid foundation in the basics is key. But is it all about academics? Or is hands-on experience important too?
Oh, hands-on experience is essential. That's where internships come in.
Ah, yes. Internships.
Think about it. You could be spending your summer working with experienced engineers at a major airport. You'd get to see those baggage handling systems up close, maybe even work on implementing a new lighting system.
That sounds like an amazing experience.
It is, and it's a great way to see if this is really the right path for you.
Right, because reading about it and actually doing it are two different things.
100%. Plus, those internships can often turn into job offers after you graduate, which is a huge bonus.
Totally. Okay, so you've graduated, you've got some good internship experience, you're ready to launch your career. What are some typical entry-level jobs in this field?
You might start as an assistant aviation ground systems engineer. You'd be working under more senior engineers, helping with inspections, maintenance, maybe even some basic design work.
Starting with the fundamentals, working your way up.
Exactly. And as you gain experience, you can start to specialize in a particular system, like navigation, lighting, or even automation, which is becoming huge.
It's like choosing your own adventure within the field.
I like that. And as you move up, you might take on more of a project management role. You'd oversee teams, manage budgets, that sort of thing.
So it's not just about being a tech whiz. You need those leadership and management skills, too.
You got it. And that's what makes it so diverse. You can really play to your strengths, whether that's technical problem solving, leadership, or anything in between.
It's a good mix. Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff. Career growth, specialization, but let's be real, every job has its downsides. What are some of the, shall we say, less glamorous aspects of being an aviation ground systems engineer? I feel like RoleCatcher hinted at a few.
They did. One of the biggest ones is the schedule.
Yeah.
Airports, they don't close, right?
Right.
So you got to be prepared to work evenings, weekends, even holidays if a critical system goes down.
So no 9 to 5. Definitely something to think about.
For sure. And because the work is so important, you're always under pressure to make sure everything is running perfectly. Any delays or safety issues can cause a huge ripple effect throughout the entire airport.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
Very high. And then there's the physical side of it. You might be on your feet for hours working in tight spaces, sometimes even out on the airfield no matter the weather.
So you need to be tough, both mentally and physically.
100%. But for the right person, someone who thrives on challenge, loves aviation, and enjoys working with both their hands and their mind, it can be an incredibly rewarding career.
It sounds like it. Well, RoleCatcher seems to have everything you need to figure out if this career is right for you.
They really do.
Now let's talk money. What's the earning potential like?
That's a great question. And the good news is, aviation ground systems engineers are generally well compensated for their skills and the demands of the job. According to RoleCatcher, the median salary in the U.S. is around $85,000.
Okay, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. And of course, that can vary depending on experience, location, the specific employer.
Sure, sure. But it sounds like a career with both financial and professional rewards.
Exactly. You can earn a good living while also playing a vital role in keeping one of the world's most complex systems running safely and efficiently.
Very well said. Okay, we've covered a lot. But before we move on, I'm curious, what's the most surprising thing you've learned about this field?
You know, what really surprised me is the sheer variety of the work. You're constantly learning and adapting. One day you might be troubleshooting a radar system, the next you're analyzing data from pavement sensors, and then the next, you're figuring out how to integrate a fleet of autonomous vehicles.
It's like you need to be a jack of all trades these days.
Pretty much. You've got to be comfortable with technology, engineering, data analysis, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. So it's not just about fixing things anymore. It's about designing and implementing the future of airports.
Exactly. And that brings us to another big trend, sustainability.
Oh, right. Airports and sustainability. I wouldn't have put those two together.
It's becoming more and more important.
Yeah,
Airports use a ton of energy, and there's a lot of pressure to reduce their environmental impact.
that makes sense. So how do aviation ground systems engineers fit into all of that?
Well, think about it. Lighting, baggage handling, climate control, all those systems use massive amounts of energy. Aviation ground systems engineers are going to be responsible for optimizing those systems, implementing renewable energy sources, that kind of thing.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between efficiency and sustainability.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just energy consumption. We're also talking about using sustainable materials, eco-friendly pavements, energy-efficient lighting, even sustainable aviation fuels.
So the future of aviation ground systems engineering is really tied to the future of the entire industry.
100%. It's a really exciting time to be in this field because you're not just keeping the lights on, you're shaping the future of aviation.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so for someone listening who's thinking, this is amazing, but also, whoa, how do I keep up?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
Honestly, never stop learning.
Makes sense.
Don't be afraid to explore new technologies, try new things. The field is changing so quickly, you always have to be learning and adapting.
It's becoming much more interdisciplinary, right?
Absolutely. And that's where the real innovation happens, when different fields come together. So, yeah, if you're passionate about aviation, you're curious, and you want to make a difference, this is the field for you.
I love it. Well, let's talk about RoleCatcher's job hunting tools, specifically that AI job matching feature. How does that work exactly?
It's pretty cool, actually. You create a profile with your skills, experience, goals, all that, and their system analyzes it and then matches you with relevant job openings.
Okay, but how is that different from just searching a job board?
It's way more personalized. RoleCatcher's AI looks at your specific skills and experience and compares them to the actual requirements of each job. Plus, they pull from a much wider range of sources than your average job board. You might find out opportunities on there that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
So it's like having your own personal headhunter.
Pretty much. And it takes the guesswork out of job searching. No more wasting time applying for jobs you're not qualified for or that aren't a good fit.
That's amazing. Okay, so you've applied for a job, now what?
Well, the waiting game can be brutal, but RoleCatcher has you covered there too. You can actually track the status of your applications in real time. You can see when your application has been viewed, if you've been shortlisted for an interview, all of that.
No more refreshing your inbox every 5 minutes.
Exactly. It gives you a sense of control and transparency, which is so important. And if you do get an interview, they also give you insights into the company's culture, values, even the hiring manager's background.
Oh, wow. So you can really go into that interview prepared.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right?
Right. Okay, this is all great information. RoleCatcher really seems like an invaluable tool for anyone serious about a career as an aviation ground systems engineer.
It really is.
Now, we've talked about what it takes to become an aviation ground systems engineer, but choosing a career is a big decision. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Do your research. Talk to people in the field. If you can, try to shadow someone for a day and see what it's really like. There's
Right.
no substitute for firsthand experience.
And RoleCatcher can be a great resource for that.
Absolutely. They have a feature that connects you with people in your field for informational interviews and mentorship opportunities.
That's fantastic. Okay, so before we move on to our final part, where we'll dive into the future of aviation ground systems engineering, let's do a quick recap for our listeners. We've covered a lot of ground today.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first and foremost, we learned that aviation ground systems engineers are essential to the aviation industry. They're the ones who make sure all those critical airport systems run smoothly and safely.
They keep the planes flying.
Literally. And while having a strong engineering background is important, we also learned that soft skills, those people skills, are just as critical, especially in high-pressure situations.
You got to be able to think on your feet and communicate effectively, especially when you're dealing with complex systems and tight deadlines.
And it's not your typical 9 to 5 job. Airports operate around the clock, so be prepared to work evenings, weekends, even holidays if duty calls.
It's demanding, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
Exactly. And for anyone who's intrigued by this field, remember, RoleCatcher is an amazing resource.
They've got everything from detailed career guides to AI-powered job hunting tools. They can help you figure out if this is the right career for you and then guide you through every step of the process.
Amazing. Okay, so with that in mind, let's move on to the final part of our deep dive and explore the future of aviation ground systems engineering and how emerging technologies are shaping the industry. All right, so we've talked about what aviation ground systems engineers do now, but what about the future? It seems like technology is changing everything these days.
It really is. And aviation is no exception. We're talking about a technological revolution, and these engineers, they're going to be right at the heart of it. One of the biggest things on the horizon is automation. Robots everywhere.
We've touched on that a bit, but it's worth digging deeper. How will this actually impact their day-to-day work?
Okay, so imagine, instead of having to manually inspect all those runway lights, you've got a fleet of drones doing it for you.
Wow.
They're collecting real-time data, spotting potential problems before they even become visible to the human eye.
That's incredible. But I bet that requires a whole new set of skills.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
The aviation ground systems engineer of the future, they're going to have to be fluent in robotics, AI diagnostics, data analysis. Coding is going to be as important as knowing how to fix a hydraulic system.
So it's not just about maintaining existing systems anymore. It's about designing and managing the next generation of airport technology.
Exactly. And this leads into another big trend, sustainability. Airports are under a lot of pressure to be more eco-friendly, and aviation ground systems engineers, they're going to play a key role in that.
That's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily think of airports as being on the cutting edge of sustainability. How will engineers help with that?
Well, think about all the systems involved. Lighting, baggage handling, climate control, it all takes a ton of energy.
Yeah.
Aviation ground systems engineers, they'll be the ones figuring out how to optimize these systems, how to use renewable energy sources, how to reduce the airport's overall carbon footprint.
So it's all about finding that balance, making things efficient, but also sustainable.
Exactly. And this focus on sustainability, it's not just about energy, it also applies to the materials and technologies used in airport construction and maintenance. Think eco-friendly pavements, energy-efficient lighting, sustainable aviation fuels, that kind of thing.
It sounds like the future of this career is really tied to the future of the aviation industry as a whole.
Completely.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting. You're not just keeping the planes flying, you're actually helping to shape the future of aviation, making it safer, more efficient, and better for the environment.
That's amazing. Okay, so for anyone listening who's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, like this is a lot to keep up with, what advice would you give them? How can they prepare for such a rapidly changing field?
The biggest thing is to be a lifelong learner. Always be curious, always be willing to learn new things, even if they're outside your comfort zone. The field's always changing, so you have to be willing to change with it.
Because the lines are blurring, right? It's not just about traditional engineering anymore.
Right. It's becoming much more interdisciplinary, and that's where the real innovation happens, when people from different backgrounds and disciplines come together. So yeah, if you're fascinated by aviation, if you love technology, if you want to make a real difference in the world, this could be the perfect career for you.
I think it's a great note to end on. This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We've learned so much about the crucial role that aviation ground systems engineers play in keeping the world connected. And it's been incredible to get a glimpse into the exciting future of this field.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And for our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about this amazing career path, don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's platform. They have a ton of great resources that can help you explore your options, develop your skills, and ultimately take your career to new heights. Until next time, thanks for listening.